What it is, Danny X. Whoop, whoop. We are checking out some Francis Ngannou versus Deontay Wilder. Now, this is the one I've been calling it for ever since after the Tyson Fury, and I've been spamming comments on this shit, and I guess Chael finally heard him. I'm sure I wasn't the only one either. But that's the one right there. I'm not super interested in the rematch right off the bat. They can do that later, whatever. Just because I already saw Francis beat Tyson. You know, we all saw it. So now I would like to see the roll with it.
Guys, I've spoken to you before about something that's really important if you want to do a big fight, is that you don't manipulate the rules. I spoke to you about that, and I've had a lot of people go, oh, Chip, but that'd be great. I would love to see an MMA guy versus a boxer, but with small gloves. If I could see Conor versus Floyd again, but we put him in 4-ounce gloves.
Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to see it. I would like to see that, but I have conceded to the points that Chael has laid down over the years about this, which is, it's really hard to get people. You're pretty much creating a whole new sport just for one event, which, some people would be down with, but not enough to, put the money into it that would justify it. So whatever, at this point it's like pick one or the other, MMA or boxing, whatever. Just let's make some of these fights happen.
I would really like that. I don't disagree. I don't have to attempt to tell you that you're wrong and that you wouldn't like that, but you're missing a colossally large point. Okay, if you're gonna have a big fight, you're going to put up a bunch of money, and you're going to have a spectacle, and you're going to let it all ride. I mean, one of these, I'm talking, we're going to do something like this, and boy, there's some great stories on that. Dave Feldman and Bare Knuckle, just to use one that just happened a year ago, had to refinance his house to keep the lights on at Bare Knuckle. He goes out to Colorado, he packs the place, it's insane. This was the Mike Perry, Luke Rockhold night. All of a sudden, Conor McGregor shows up. All of a sudden, not only does he have this wonderful piece of business, but he had a wonderful advertisement and marketing.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know he put everything he had up on that event. That's dedication right there.
That went well into the future. He got all of his money back. Vince McMahon wanted to do something called WrestleMania, and he did not have the money. And he had to go to loan sharks. He had to make deals with guys that he could not cover the spread. Every dollar that Vince had spent, every dollar that he had promised out that he was going to pay.
I didn't know that either. I knew about the UFC, but that's the sport I really follow. But yeah, that's cool. That just shows some dedication right there.
The cameramans to the wrestlers themselves, it was all on the come line. He needed something to work, and it was something that had never been done. And it was a pay-per-view event. Pay-per-view. The term that people hadn't heard. They thought he was saying paper. Like, you'd write on paper. Pay-per-view. They didn't even know what it meant. It was something called pay-per-view. And it was going to go in movie theaters. Put this in movie theaters, you're going to buy it just like a ticket, and you're going to go out and watch it. There was a massive education process that was have to go on within the public sphere. But I've shared with you, some of these really great ones, the big ones that change lives and create industries. When you're having something really big, really special, you will not get anywhere without the media. There is not a campaign that's ran and won on any meaningful level. State, federal, House, Senate, presidency.
All right, the good news about that part of it is the people is a big part of the media these days with the internet and all. All the little channels creating all their own little content. A lot of people are going to that over the big corporate channels these days. And so that's one thing, shifting some power more into the people's hands with the free spread of information and whatnot.
Without the media. And people will so often tell me that the most important part of the fight and the fighters should be paid more. None of this happens without the fighters. You're never going to do away with that debate. And if you're involved in it and you're a leader, you're going to back that false narrative until you're blue in the face. Until you're blue in the face, you are always going to build your principles within your fighters. You're going to say, this is the most important thing. This doesn't happen, and they deserve and get all the credit. But it's not true. Period. Would
All right. Enlighten me.
not matter how good a fighter was. Would not matter. Would not matter if he was touched by the hand of God and his skills were divine. It would not matter. The camera didn't capture it.
This is the old if the tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it type deal. Gotcha. So let's get back to to that point, okay? Just that right there proves that everyone is God. I mean, that's just that if the tree falls in the forest and no one's there to witness it, therefore it never falled. All that is doing is showing that, okay, someone's perspective is all that matters. Okay, and the government knows this too. That's why the perspective of the people is constantly being manipulated. See, life lessons. Roll with it, chill.
So now we figured out. I mean, just with that one example, we've now understood. Well, okay, I guess the fighter isn't the most important thing. Capturing him on camera is the most important thing, and then around the world and building. Okay, great. But as long as we can kind of start to see and understand, then
See, that's why I didn't backtalk you, because I knew there was a good point coming. I could just feel it. And I'm like, I'll just shut up for a minute and like put the point out there before I sound
then
stupid.
I can get you to understand that when you have a press release, when you have a media day, when you have a press conference, it's completely incumbent that what you say and announce is brought in, absorbed, and appreciated by the media. Now, that's a very hard thing to do, and it's a very rare thing.
A lot easier these days with the internet, man. I'm telling you, back when Chell started, back in the old days, holy fuck, that was the hard part. The ball's rolling now, motherfuckers. Avalanche.
In the competitiveness of sport, that the big dogs that are going to make you or break you like what you have to say. The barriers of entry and the rejection that you will face.
You know, the Ariel Helwanis and the Chael Sonnens and the Michael Bispings, and then that little mighty midget over there, Cejudo. Corey Sandhagen really does more just technical stuff, you know. But now there's a lot of and that's another thing that Chael paved the way for. He was like, as far as I know, he was the first major one that when he retired, you know, jumped up on that YouTube and made his career following fighting, but still being in it, you know. And now so many fighters have followed in his footsteps, and they've actually jumped on it before they even retire. You know, the Sean O'Malley's and whatnot. I don't watch Sean O'Malley a whole lot. I mean, he's like interesting, but I just can't seem to sit through a bunch of Sean O'Malley. You know, on like a podcast, I'll catch clips here and there and whatnot. But there's just some people I can't really do long form of. But I take all the long form of Chael I can get.
For years, until all of a sudden they see it your way. It's very hard. We've seen this in football. There was something called XFL, but it wouldn't matter the one of the reasons they could never get over on the NFL is they just didn't have the media. Why would the media cover the XFL, which is a second or third rate brand or something that's trying to get up and going, when they're in the ratings business and they can talk about the NFL, which everybody knows it's not a risk. There's no education process. There's only so much time in the sports show. So you're going to turn to what's best. You're going to turn to what's hottest. Not some of the time. You're going to do that every single time. But it's important that you understand this formula.
All right.
You have to have the media.
I'm listening, bruh. I'm listening.
And while it's nice to say it's, oh no, the fighters are the two most important things. Let me just give you an example. Ngannou and Fury did.
No, I mean, that's art all throughout history, you know. Is it really great if no one ever sees it? You know, I'm a little dense, Chael, but it sinks through after a while, all right? Just like it took me a year or so to accept that whole, you know, you really care more about the drama and the talking of the fight than the actual fight. I resisted that for a long time when he was saying that, but then I started analyzing how much time I spend watching them talk about fighting or actually watching them fighting, and I spend more of the time watching. And I think I don't know, some people might spend more time actually watching the fighting itself, but you just haven't come across Chael's YouTube yet. Is all.
Not have a lot of media. And I know people have attempted to rewrite the story and say it's because they didn't know. Nobody knew.
And Corey Sandhagen, for fuck's sake, you need to be watching some Chael. Corey, you need to be watching some Chael. Especially, I mean, he calls you out all the time. He's probably one of the Sheeners in the comment section with the burner.
The world didn't know how competitive Francis could be. You're not wrong about that. Like, that is a piece. But when you state it as though that's the only piece were true, then we would fully understand that the rematch between Ngannou and Fury, stop the presses, halt everything, go and get that, because we now know how competitive it would be. One of the reasons the media didn't cover it, and in fact it was the absolute top reason, is the media didn't know how to explain to the audience what it was these two were going to do. The media, let me use SportsCenter. They're going to cover all your sports, and they're going to start with the top, right? You have your baseball, basketball, football, of course. They'll touch on a little tennis, and they'll touch on a little golf. They'll even touch on a little bit of cornhole here.
Ain't no one touching my cornhole, goddammit. What is up with that game? Fuck that game. Like, they couldn't name it something else? Nah, that's some tricksy ass cracker shit right there, dude. They did that on purpose. You know they did.
There, but if you go out and you create a sport, you make it up. It doesn't.
Oh, who wants to go play cornhole with me? And you got motherfuckers raising their hand. Fuck that.
Fall into the definition of what the world knows to be sport. Wouldn't matter if it's badminton, cricket, volleyball, any way that you want to do it. If you create something that is not one of those, if you do not have sanctioning by the appropriate bodies of the recognized sports, you're not going to get on SportsCenter. You can't. Let me stop you right there. You're not going to get onto SportsCenter. I don't have to go further, and I don't have to say, well, what if it's Zuckerberg versus Musk? No, you don't have to offer me anything. You don't have to get creative. You don't have to do anything. You don't fall into a category of a sport, and you don't have the sanctioning of an approved body, you're not going to get on SportsCenter. It's a big deal. One of the biggest busts for Francis and Fury is that those two, while trying...
See, now, and if Dana actually supported that fight and actually motion behind that fight instead of trying to tear it down the entire time, that would have done bomb ass pay-per-view numbers. That would have did totally different pay-per-view numbers. Okay, and that's just my opinion. But also, I mean, what do you think would have happened if Conor McGregor did the same thing that Ngannou did and dropped out and went to go fight Floyd on his own? It wouldn't have done the numbers it did. It needed that promotion and that belief behind. All Ngannou had was his own belief and the belief of some, not the UFC. Apparently, damn sure didn't have their belief.
To get somebody to open up the purse strings, told and sold the idea that they were going to make up a sport.
What the fuck's belief got to do with it? We're here trying to make money, crackle.
And it was very harmful. It was harmful because the media can't explain that. You can't break in and say Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou are getting ready to blah, 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 blah. It doesn't work that way. You have to say what they're getting ready to do. They're getting ready to play soccer. Getting ready to play bridge. They're getting ready.
They're getting ready to do what now? All right. Stay on track.
To play, fill in the blank. Not a name of which would be created, because if you change one rule, you change the sport. You play football under football exactly as you know.
But instead of 5 minutes, you do 3 minutes. Totally different sport now, right?
To make it 3 quarters, you're now doing something else. That's not how football is played. If you play basketball, it's the exact same thing, but a bucket is worth 5 points. You're now playing something else. You're not playing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there are definitely some little manipulations you can do and still keep it the same sport, but I'm just a fuck-ass honky. What do I know?
Very important that you do understand, because if you come out and what happened with Ngannou and Fury, those guys spent so much time, right? They had nothing there. They had no promoter and they wanted it, though. They really wanted to do it, so they start telling the story. They start telling it a little bit better. And they started adding things to it. I mean, Fury went so far one time, they're going to do it. I think it was no gloves, and it was going to be in a cage. It was going to be boxing. Mike Tyson was going to be the referee. I mean, they just kept going as a way of trying to sweeten the pot. But it was
Well, they got Mike Tyson involved one way or another, didn't they? Dude. Yeah, I want Tyson to train me. Says like every male on the planet.
Hard that they didn't understand what was needed. They didn't understand they have to have the media telling the story, backing them up, convincing people it's cool, telling people when it is. That's a major thing you count on the media for.
Yeah, it's getting that getting everyone to tune in, but getting everyone to tune in at the same time, you know.
Major thing to tell and remind the people that's this weekend. It starts at 2 o'clock Eastern time. It's something you count on them for, and they can't do any of those things.
Oh, come on now. Let's not go there, because I learned a while ago that Chael isn't the channel to come to if you want every single fight talked about. There's some weeks he just totally skips them. I'm like, come on, man, at least do fucking one video on the main event, you know, at least on the main event. Fuck. There's all kinds. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I just got to go to Bisping or someone else just to hear them talk about the fight that week. If it ain't a big old banger, he skips some sometimes.
A sports show is not going to cover a non-sport. I feel I've made my point. It's a big deal when you're talking about Deontay Wilder versus Francis Ngannou.
No, I guess there's people saying let's do mixed rules or something. I guess there's people saying that, or else Chael wouldn't even be going on about it. But dude, whatever. Let's just keep it same rules, man. Let's just make that shit fucking happen, dude. Francis versus Deontay. Come on, bro. I mean, Jesse on Fire has been preaching that one for years, literally years, and everyone was on the Francis versus Fury. But now that we've had that, now that we've seen Francis beat Fury, I would like to see that contest. Absolutely, dude. Come on now. Bang it if you made it, boys. Do you mean it? Bang it.
You have both are boxers now, right? You can officially say that both are boxers. How in box? Or both are MMA guy now. Right now, we've never seen historically a financial...
Okay, I would like to see both the MMA and the boxing version of that matchup. Absolutely. But I would like to see the boxing first. If you're asking me personally, I would like to see the boxing first. Go ahead and make that part of the deal. Like do a double sport deal. Let's do boxing and MMA and like make that part of the promotion, you know? 100.
Win here. Whether we took MMA and moved it to boxing, or we took boxing and we moved it to MMA, we've never seen a financial win, but we have seen a spectacle. We have seen things that will still perk your interest. So if there's talk of Deontay and Francis, and you understand what is absolute key, which is the media, it's not the fighters, it's not the purses, it's none of those things. It's the media.
See, I'm helping. I'm making a video on it. You know, I'm helping. Let's get this motherfucking fight happening, y'all.
Media. They get behind you and they back you, or they don't.
Okay, but he keeps saying the media, and people don't realize that the people are a big part of the media these days. I mean, there is still the traditional established media, but like I said earlier, there's so many MMA channels putting out content that they are slowly gaining viewership on those channels. So, you know, tides be a turning, tables be a turning these days.
You'll start to understand how important it is that you pick a sport, but you'll also start to understand why. And if you understand that you must have the ingredient that one of them falls, one of them must fall.
Must lose.
And you understand the ingredient that one of them must rise.
I don't, this just popped in my head, but for fuck's sakes, MMA wise, like with the what was it, Ankalaev, and what was that, Jan? That fight where they gave him a draw for the championship. For fuck's sake, Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza. If any championship fight should have got a draw where neither one went home with the belt, it was that was the worst championship fucking fight I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Like, it pissed me off seeing either one of them girls walk off with the belt that night. It's like neither of them wanted it. Like, you got to want that fucking belt to be proud of it and walk off with it. Anyway.
I'm not talking about a fight. I'm not talking about an undercard fight. I'm not talking about a Saturday in your hometown. I'm talking about the mega and massive fights. We'll always have those ingredients. if a guy is coming on what's called a one-off, where you're going to get him one time and he rides off and he goes somewhere else and goes and does whatever it is he has to do, then you have no ability to cause the rise or to cause the fall, which means you remove it from possible ingredients, which means you would eliminate it from being a big fight.
Because you need them extra steaks. Need the extra sizzle. Alright. Thank y'all for rolling with me. Dark Light and the bad guy. What's up? You guys have a good one, man. Appreciate